Alright, welcome back to another video. My name's Elijah. This here is my Coleman CT100U, or it is called RedRiddler on the channel, with a Hyson 98cc that comes from the factory. It is a stage 2, 3/4 and a half, kind of in between the 2 and the 3 stages. I'll do a little bit of a breakdown of what I've done to the engine. We have the good old classic PZ19 carburetor fitted in with a custom intake manifold going into the engine. This port right here has been enlarged to fit the same diameter as the carburetor. Did some work inside the head where I smoothed out some rough edges that were inside the valves, where the airflow and fuel mixture goes into the engine and to the explosion chamber, just for the best efficiency and fluidness that this is going in and breathing out. With this carburetor installed, I absolutely had to remove the governor. So governor has been completely removed out of this machine from externally and internally. When removing the governor, I actually put a barb fitting right there where it goes up to the top of the head where the valve cover is. Right here is where the exhaust valve is. And as the crankcase is pressurized by the piston going up and down the engine, it creates a little bit of a mist of oil. That mist goes up through that line and actually sprays right on top of that valve, cooling it down when I'm running this thing wide open throttle while I'm going down the road. Inside the engine, the stock connecting rod is still engaged. And a lot of people have been asking me, does that connecting rod ever let go, or does this thing knock or anything? I have ran this engine well past 7,000 RPMs multiple times, knowing Indiana it's completely flat. I will have this thing wide open throttle going down the road for 30-40 minutes. It doesn't sling out the connecting rod at the bottom of the engine. The flywheel is the thing you really need to worry about. I've never had the stock flywheel break on me, but I've heard rumors of them exploding. Just the same thing as the GX200 clones. You don't want to rev those engines above 4,500 RPM for too long, because those magnets will just fly right off and break everything surrounding area of the, well, flywheel. I have a billet flywheel in there from affordablegokarts.com. The whole purpose of this machine is to be a cruiser. It is not intended to be some speed demon of any kind. Yes, it will do 45 and maybe 50 at the very most, but I really just intend to use this as a cruiser set around 30 miles an hour as its normal pace. I did change out the rear tire to a 13 by 5 by 6 instead of that large 15 6 by 6. This is off of a front end of a zero-turn mower, and it's just basically just a slick. That's all it is. With a smaller tire, I changed my gear ratio a lot, made it being taller. So I had to change the sprocket. This used to be a 70 tooth back here. Now this is a 60 tooth. The clutch is now back to a 12 tooth clutch, the actual factory clutch that comes on these bikes. And that's a kind of a bonus because this is a needle bearing clutch, where it uses needle bearings instead of a bushing, like a brass bushing. You really don't have to do maintenance on them. I did end up painting the front forks the same color as the frame, just to change it up a little bit. I wanted to be more vintage, so I made the colors the same on both the frame and the forks. The color is cranberry red from Rust-Oleum. I did change the foot pegs out for these more vintage looking foot pegs that are the rounder shape. It kind of makes it look like it's all one big piece. I didn't really like those foot pegs that look like a dirt bike foot peg. Kind of just looks a little too aggressive for what this thing is. But these work excellent on this mini bike. Then back here we have the custom hydraulic swap. You absolutely have to have hydraulics if you're going above 40 miles an hour on these little machines. I've changed the vent on this. This is actually off of a Briggs & Stratton vent tube. Is that like a rubber piece that goes into the valve cover by Briggs & Stratton? And that's just a normal, I think this is a fuel clunk for like a weed eater. And I've gutted it out. There's no filter in it or anything. So it's just this little plastic mesh. And it just looks a little bit nicer than it just kind of floating out here and oiling everything up right here. It's rusty, it's not pretty, but I do ride this thing every single day. This is my daily rider. I take this thing everywhere. It's got a lot of miles on it. There's probably over 2,000 miles put onto this bike. I have gone through, I think, 4 sets of tires. I know I've gone through a brake, multiple chains, multiple clutches. It's got a lot of work put into it. But this is my favorite bike to ride. I'll give you a little listen right here. Well, I have the idle set way too low. It would need a blip of throttle to run. So, excuse me for a second. I do have another CT100U, just like this one, that actually has the fenders and all the brackets. I have a GX120 that I plan on putting on there. I also want to see if that GX120 is compatible with the same parts with these engines, the 98cc's, like the flywheel, the intake manifold and carburetors and such. So that would be interesting to do. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more mini bike junk content like this. My name is Elijah and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.